My name is Mike McDonough, and I'm Associate General Counsel with the Mass Association of Realtors. I'm here with you today to talk about agency relationships. The agency law was changed in 2005. Prior to 2005, buyer agency, seller agency, dual agency was permissible, but in 2005, the legislature and the Board of Registration for Real Estate Brokers issued laws and regulations which clarified those relationships and made it a lot easier for brokers and for consumers to know and understand the type of relationships that they enter into. Three types of agency relationships include buyer agency, seller agency, and facilitation. It's a good idea to have a discussion with your principal or your broker as to what type of office policy you are following. Either it's a traditional agency office or a designated agency office. And that's going to impact the types of relationships that you enter into as an agent in your firm. The agency disclosure form, again, was changed in 2005. It's obviously a very important form. Under the state license law, it's required that you provide the form at the first personal meeting to discuss a specific property with a consumer. Obviously, on the form itself, as you can see, there's three options: buyer agency, seller agency, and facilitation. And that's the form that you provide to the consumer to indicate what type of relationship you'll be entering into with them. Keep in mind that it's required at the first personal meeting to discuss a specific property, and if a consumer does not wish to sign the form, there's an option on the bottom of the form to check that to indicate that they're not going to sign the form and to keep the form as part of the file. Well, the first meeting is actually the first face-to-face meeting with the consumer to have a discussion about the specific property. An open house, there is a face-to-face meeting, but the agency disclosure form obviously is not required to be provided to every buyer who comes to an open house. So it requires more than just an open house. It's a meeting that you might schedule. It's something where you sit down with the consumer to talk about a specific property. Now, you're not required to have agency disclosure forms with you at all times during the day, so if you run into a consumer at, say, the supermarket, you're not required to have them on you at all times. But in other words, whenever you set up a personal meeting to have a discussion about a property, the form should be used. The difference between a customer and a client is very important. A customer, obviously, is somebody who you treat honestly and fairly, but you do not owe any fiduciary duties to that person. For example, it's a buyer who might come to an open house, a buyer who might come to one of your listings for a showing. You don't have any kind of agency relationship with that person, and you don't owe any fiduciary duties to that person. However, you still have a duty to treat that party honestly and fairly. On the other hand, a client is somebody who you do have an agency relationship, and you owe all of those traditional fiduciary duties to that person, including obedience, loyalty, disclosure, reasonable care, accounting, and disclosure. So keep in mind that it's a very important distinction when working with a client or a customer to know what the status of that party is, and important to use the agency disclosure form to tell that person what their relationship will be.